This episode of the Citadel Cafe is brought to you by listeners like you. Visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe to find out how you can become a patron and help make this show possible. This is the Citadel Cafe, episode number 490 for Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. My name is Joel Duggan, and the Citadel Cafe is where my friends and I hang out to talk about the geeky stuff that we're into. The podcast is available on all of the major podcasting platforms, including YouTube. If you're enjoying the show, please consider subscribing wherever you're listening to this. Joining me this week, Stephen ESC is back, and you can find him at Stephen ESC on all of the social media that matters. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. And as a podcaster of 15 years, I am now wondering where I put my cell phone and is it silent? So we will find out if anybody texts me in the middle of the show because it will go off. Hopefully it's out of range of the mic. I'm usually really good about that. I do like to have it near me in case someone needs to get a hold of me, but it's always on silent when I record. But as I hit record and started doing the intro, I was like, I don't know where my phone is.
That's funny.
Which I would like to say is a trait I don't mind having. I will very regularly put the phone down somewhere at home and walk away from it. And it will be on the couch or in my bedroom or in the kitchen somewhere because I was timing something. And I will then forget about it for a while. I am not as good as I used to be about leaving it alone. I definitely have spent too much time on it in the last little while, but generally speaking, I am happy to say like it's not glued to my person the entire time that I'm home. But man, it's the social media circuit right now is real. I won't get into the details because we're here to talk about sci-fi and fantasy stuff, but I'm not sure what they've done with the algorithms lately, but man, there's a lot of the hook is real. I'll say that the hook is real.
Yeah.
And if I can spin it into positive so we don't go down any kind of like rabbit holes that we don't want to go, when TikTok was shut down briefly and then brought back, even after it's been brought back, I'm seeing way more Canadian content than I used to. And I like it a lot because it's really fun.
Interesting.
And funny. And like also, I have never seen moose this big in my life. Like, well, I've never seen one in real life, period. But I've seen videos of them. But like, there's a couple people from like the northern territories and stuff that are taking videos of moose, and oh my goodness, I like one of them was just like 10 feet tall. It was wild, and to the point where like I checked the video to see if the user had said like generated with AI. You know, just sometimes people will put stuff that looks like sometimes it's too unbelievable. And it was on that edge. I was like, that is massive. Is that a camera trick? Wait a minute. Is this fake? Am I being faked out right now? But nope, it was just a very large animal. It's been wild to see some of the fun content and really cool. Like there's also been like a lot of really funny stuff and a lot of like Canada Goose jokes and just some good, some good light content at the end of a very busy day is always welcome.
I don't know that I've necessarily noticed higher Canadian content in my feed, but I have noticed that things have changed for sure. And I've been doing what I can to be on social media less, so I haven't really been able to put my finger on it, or maybe that's exactly what it is, that I'm seeing more Canadian content and it's different, but I'll try to take note next time I'm on.
I've been trying to spend less time on it, more so this week. So I want to say as of the weekend, I tried to really not spend as much time on it. I was watching movies and Netflix and stuff and trying not to be down on my phone. And that's in stark contrast to the week before where I know I spent too much time on social media and my phone. And it's not great. Like I've been able to get by the last, I don't know, little while. I want to say since the pandemic, 2020-ish. I know that I spend a lot of time on the phone, live alone, lockdowns and all that kind of stuff. But I never really felt like the effects of it that you hear people talk about. And that's different now. I feel like last week was the first time where I was like, okay, no, I need to like dial this back. I've just been really spending too much time on it. And some of it is 100% escapism. And then other times you're just kind of like, well, you go there to like watch some puppy and or like cooking. I like cooking videos too. I get lots of tips and recipes and stuff. But then like ultimately you get fed some of the stuff that you're trying to avoid. And you're just like, no, that's not,
Yeah.
that's not what I
Yeah.
want. And so, but it's just, I feel like it's just everywhere. And I agree. I think that things have definitely changed. That I feel like, I wonder if with all the advances in AI the last week or two, whether the algorithms have also gotten like an upgrade behind the scenes.
Oh, maybe. Hopefully for the better.
Do you track the AI stuff at all? Have you been watching like the news about DeepSeek and?
Not as much as I probably should. I'm actually one of the few people I know of that hasn't even tried ChatGPT at all. So the only AI that I've done has been with, just as a graphic designer, I've used the built-in stuff in Photoshop to extend sky or remove a boat from a lake kind of thing, and it seamlessly generates that sky and fills that water in seconds, and it would normally take me far longer than that. I'm embarrassed to say sometimes it takes close to an hour or more to try to get that right water blend in a way that doesn't look like you try to build a texture into it without looking like you're copying the texture from somewhere else in the photo, and sometimes it's just so tedious. So AI can have that job of mine.
Yeah, no, I agree. And before I got off of the Adobe suite, I used to use it in that way too. I've been looking at different things to try to help with the podcast production. And
Oh yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of the tools out there are like text to speech or real language models that make it sound like a real podcaster. It's like, no, 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 no. I want to be the person on
Yeah.
mic. What I want are editing tools that are going to make my life a lot easier. And there is a cool tool out there if you have a video podcast and you don't want to edit it yourself, where like if you have like 3 cameras, like a dual shot and then a shot for like each person, then once you identify and tell the AI whose voice is whose and whose camera is whose, it will automatically cut back and forth between like when you're talking and then when I'm talking.
Oh.
And then if there's a moment where like I'm saying something and you've laughed, or we're both agreeing on something, or it's a moment where like the segment is moving forward, it'll give the wide shot, like it'll do the wide shot, and it'll run down and just chop all that stuff up for you. Now, is it necessarily
That's
the
beautiful.
final thing that you want to, show to the world? Probably not, but it's like 80% of your work done. And so that's the kind of thing that I'd like to try and find. And I know that
Yeah.
I know that I'm looking for some stuff with help for streaming as well. And I guess technically I do use some AI. Like I use this stream sticker plugin where people can donate bits to the stream and then type in a message, and it's then a text to speech sticker from like David Attenborough or something that sounds like
Oh
David
yeah, yeah.
Attenborough, or like GLaDOS from Portal, or Darth Vader or Stormtrooper. And they're just fun. It's a fun idea. But I have to say, like the way that it pauses for commas and like ellipses and stuff, it's pretty good. It's pretty
Nice.
accurate.
I think you've posted a few of those on TikTok, haven't you? I know I've seen them from your stream, but I haven't been able to catch one of Joel's streams in a while, so it must have been on TikTok, was it?
Yeah, it's been the fall. I started using them in the fall, just before Christmas, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, and I do. Yeah, I've been posting on TikTok and I've been posting on YouTube Shorts. Joel Duggan VODs on YouTube is where I post both my VOD archive and the shorts, which are just clips. They're just Twitch clips from the streams, because I've got a button on my Stream Deck where I can like press record, like I press clip, and it'll just clip the last 60 seconds. And when there's something funny or catches me off guard, like it's worth clipping. I've also been trying to experiment with like cultivating my own clips later, like watching the VOD back and saying, oh, this is a cool thing where I was like sharing a build tip or talking about my approach to something. And if I can keep it to 60 seconds, then I can send that out to Twitch. I can do longer if I want to send it out to like TikTok or YouTube Shorts. And it's
Right.
been fun. They've been catching on. It's one of the reasons I've been spending a little bit, I wouldn't say too much time. Why I'm spending more time on TikTok is because I'm posting to TikTok now. And so
Yeah.
then there's people commenting, and I want to see how the videos are doing. I want to see which videos are doing well and which videos are not doing well. And ultimately, it just seems like it depends on what video game I'm playing. Like the Stardew Valley video did nearly 1,000 views, whereas like the Minecraft stuff is around 200 to 300. Same thing with the Core
Oh,
Keeper
really?
videos. Yeah. Yeah, they're a lot lower. But that could also just be like, new person, here's a cool video. And then like I didn't have another clip for another day because I didn't have another stream. So then like just TikTok just throws me at the bottom of the algorithm because like I'm not posting like twice daily,
Right.
which I don't have the desire or the time to do.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But we've started doing shorts with the Spawn Chunks as well because we've been doing video for that show for a while. And so during the show, I write down the timestamps for like edits, like where maybe Johnny or I flubbed up a tongue twister in the news because Mojang likes to name things with like alliteration and it becomes like an absolute impossible news read. And also if we have like a funny moment, like where he makes a joke or I make a joke or it's just a cool thing about something being released that we're talking about, I'll write down the time so that I can say, hey, this might be a good clip if you want to clip it for YouTube later. And then he'll send them to me and then I can put them on like the Spawn Chunks TikTok and all that kind of stuff. And I think for now, because it's Spawn Chunks on TikTok and some platforms does not have a big following, podcast wise, we're doing fine. But I might start putting them on my own YouTube shorts and just to kind of like get them circulated and point people
Right.
back to the podcast. But yeah, some clips do well and some clips don't. Like it's I haven't really kind of put a handle on how to succeed.
So the clips that you were posting, maybe I misunderstood. It's just for my own clarity. The so you'll put like bloopers if there's like a funny tongue twister thing that you've messed up. You put the bloopers on.
No. That's just the time codes. Like, so we write down to help Johnny edit the show. We're pretty good, actually. We're pretty live to hard drive. There's not a lot of edits now that we've been doing this for 5 or 6 years weekly.
Right.
But in the process of writing down all the time codes, I thought, oh, hey, why don't I also write down when we do something
Oh,
cool? And then I just label it as a clip as opposed to an edit in the notes
gotcha.
to him. So at the end of the show, I send him like a note file of like, I don't know, 5 or 6 edits. Like, hey, at 10 minutes and 45 seconds, we kind of played podcast or tennis with when neither one of us knew who was going to say something next. Like, and that doesn't happen very often anymore because we use video. It does happen from time to time. And I'm not really sure on TikTok, like why some videos do better than others. I mentioned Core Keeper, which I do have a couple of clips from. And Core Keeper is actually one of the things I wanted to talk about today. This is a really cool game that I've been playing on Steam, and it's available on Xbox Game Pass as well. And that's how I got into it. I gave it a try. I thought, well, instead of buying it on Steam, I'll just try it on Xbox. And if I like it, then I'll just bring it over to stream one day. I am
Hmm.
now a solid 20 or 30 hours into this game on my Twitch channel. It is a survival crafting mining game, top down perspective. Looks like an 8-bit kind of pixel graphics game, but it has a lot of post processing effects, full range of colors and depth, a lot of cool, I guess, abilities or interactions, we'll say, with the world.
Hmm.
And it has a really good game loop, and it grabbed me in a way that Stardew Valley did not. I found Stardew Valley boring. I thought that I was hamstrung from the beginning. They had all these quests for me to do, and I was not able to do them. And it just felt like, well, why are you telling me to do something if I can't do it yet? It's kind of
Right.
annoying. But this game, there's really not that much for quests. Like you get in there and you just start to mine and dig stuff up, and immediately you're just like, oh, I can craft a crafting bench. Let's just see what that does. And then you're just like, oh, I can craft a better crafting bench, but I need copper to do it. Well, let's go see if we can find some copper. Well, then you're off to the game loop, which is like dig, find, craft. And what's neat about it is that it's also an RPG. So as you are going through these tech tree things, and you're like, okay, I feel pretty safe now. Like I've got a helmet, and I've got a sword, and I've got a pickaxe, and I'm feeling pretty good. I've got some food. I'm no longer getting hungry. And you're brought into this little mine by this weird rock that had like a glowing eye in it. And attached to it are 3 statues, each of which represents a boss that you have to fight.
Okay.
Gorn the Devourer. I think it's Goth or north. I can't remember the name of the blob. It's like there's a big jelly blob thing. A lot of kind of like D&D inspired, bad guys. Some demon guy, um, and you go through and you fight those, and then that kind of unlocks the next phase. So it's not just a crafting and tech tree. You also have to progress through the story, and I really like it. It is something that you can
Nice.
take at your own pace, which I like. It's something that if you are a builder, crafter, I want to make my little home base look nice, you can absolutely do that. You can sink some hours into doing that. I've not done a ton of that, but I have done some. It helps to get organized, as you would have this experience in Minecraft. Like if you've got a big project, all of a sudden your chests and everything need to be organized into like having a chest room, and being organized helps, because if you're not, then you're just kind of like constantly wondering what chest you put the blocks that you want in. And it's very much like that. There's tons of
That'll
items.
be me.
Yeah, there's tons of items. There's lots of food items and cooking combinations, and there's pets and things, and it's a really cool system, and I really like it so far. And I've been playing it, I'd say a couple times a week on stream, and I'm looking forward to more. So it's going to be in my rotation for the next little bit, and I recommend it. I think it's good. It's one of those games that's uh, I didn't think I was going to like it at first, because I get so much pixel art from Minecraft. I tend to see pixel art and it's like, well, it's cool, but like I don't want to play more pixel art. Like I've got a decent computer. I'd like to play like a cool looking modern game,
Yeah.
And I think the more and more chances I give games like this, the more I realize that it's less about the graphics. It's more about like, well, is it fun? Because if it's fun, I'm probably going to play it. And I
Yeah.
realized on my Xbox, which has like really cool graphics, if I want to play a game that's got really cool looking stuff on it, I was playing Core Keeper. It's like, okay, this is obviously like the second night I'm doing this. I should add this to stream rotation and then get back to playing like the more robust games on Xbox.
Do you find games like this where you go, oh, it's another mining game? It's just, having not played this, I've seen other games that make my eyes roll a little bit, because it's like, okay, another Minecraft inspired thing.
Yeah.
Okay, another. It just feels like Terraria. I know it's a different gameplay, but it feels like a side-on view of Minecraft a little bit. I know it's got its own thing going as well, but it just feels like, how many mining games can you play? Did you feel like that at all with this one going into it? It just, you go into it and like,
It scratched the Minecraft itch. I definitely felt like, oh, this is just like Minecraft, as I'm mining down a shaft looking for ore in the world to upgrade my pickaxe. Like very much early.
in a good way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like you absolutely notice it. But it's like Minecraft and Terraria and Stardew Valley had a baby. That's kind of like how it has been described in my
Three
chat.
parents, they don't know who the real one is.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but it is like that. It's got like a weird mishmash. And I think the thing that separates it from Minecraft and other mining games that are emulating Minecraft is the RPG aspect. It's like the boss fighting, it's the sword stuff, it's the gear. Like you can have gear, like if depending on what gear you have is how you style your gameplay. So if you want to be a wizard, then wear cloth and use a wand and wear a wizard hat. If you want to be a warrior, then use an axe and wear a helmet and wear a chest plate. And if you want to be a necromancer, then you got to find the books that summon the little fire demons and wear the right robes for that. And those are the three archetypes that I've seen. You can quickly switch between the three. You can have three outfits equipped on your person at any time, and you can just switch between them with one click of a button. So that's cool. So if you get into a situation like fighting a boss where magic might be better as a strategy, then you can switch to your magic gear and do it that way, which I think is kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a neat way of approaching it. I think the difference for me is that it doesn't strike me as an overly creative game. There's not the same kind of palette that you have in Minecraft. And because it's not 3D, I'm not looking at the world like, ooh, how can I make this my own? Right?
Right.
I'm looking at the cave as like, how can I make this organized? Like this is chaos. How can I want some straight lines and I want some walls and some floor that's not dirt. But I'm not trying to make a Mona Lisa here. Like I'm just,
right.
I'm just trying to get things done. And I've chosen some blocks that I like, but like there's 3 or 4 different kind of wall types. There's a painted wall, a wood wall, and a stone wall. And granted, you can paint the wall one of 16 colors maybe, but like you're not going to like them all, because with the color also comes like a wallpaper pattern. So like you might like the
Mm,
orange color, but if it comes with a swirly pattern, that might not be your vibe. So then you just go with
right.
gray, right? So like it's not overly complicated in that way. I think the hard part about it is the organization. There's so many different items that do different things, and they're all different. And so you don't want to throw anything away, because like, well, maybe if I might need that bow later. I might need that sword later. I might need that feather cap later if I need to do some sort of spell casting. So then you just
Right.
keep everything. So you're constantly expanding your chests, and the chests are not super big. The inventory is not super big. So there's this constant like load of like organizing and trying to remember where everything is. That I find a little bit tough, but it's more the tech tree and the exploration part of it that I like. It doesn't have. I don't look at it and like, oh gosh, here's my next 1,000 hours of trying to build my next, like my next village in Minecraft. That's not what this gives
Right.
me. It's more action based, which I like. I think it's nice because I don't like combat in Minecraft. I'm not a big first person combat guy in terms of, unless it's a shooter. I don't like sword play and melee stuff in first person. So I can do it in Minecraft, but it's not my favorite. And the server's been around so long with the Citadel now that like I'm pretty geared up. If I have to deal with a zombie or something, like I'll just deal with it quickly. But it's not
Yeah.
something I tend to enjoy. Actually, there's been a couple of times in my latest streams where a creeper has kind of like shown up in my garden when I've been on stream, and I don't even fight him. I just fly away until he despawns and then fly back. Like I just don't want to deal with it. It's not why I'm playing
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
game. So, so Core Keeper has, once you got geared up, I died a few times, but once you get geared up and you can start taking on the little caveling, they're basically like goblins. And once you can take on like two or three of those guys and survive, you start to feel pretty good. You're like, all right, that was a one shot. Like he came up to me and I gave him a swipe and he died. And they make like a cool cartoony like, "Bleh," and they die. And you're just like, okay, that was oddly satisfying after the first time they killed me. So stuff like that has been fun. And I unlocked some new areas, and it's also procedurally generated, so there is some replayability. So if you play it and then you want to play with a friend, then you can like start a new world and not know where anything is. Like I wouldn't be able to say, "Oh yeah, we just have to go up here to get to this thing." It's like, nope, I've got no clue. You have no idea where the copper is or the iron is or like what to expect.
That's one thing I was going to ask. I was just, as you were talking about it, I popped over on Steam just to see the sort of a clip of what it looked like,
Mm-hmm.
and there were multiple people on the screen. So I guess so those are all people playing live with you, or are they NPCs?
The only NPC that I've run into is one dude, and he's like the wandering trader from Minecraft. He's just some bearded little guy that trades you stuff for money. That's it. Everything else has been a bad
Nice.
guy. Or if you wanted to play multiplayer, then it would be like you and one other person. And you would share like your home base. Like you'd be able to like craft and farm and all that kind of stuff in the same area.
Cool.
So what have you been up to lately?
Catching up on cartoons over the past month.
Nice.
Seen some clips about the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man show on Disney Plus, and then final season of What If was on Disney Plus as well, and then Invincible season 3 just dropped. So it's just been, when it's just me watching stuff, I just thought, you know what, this is not going to be taxing on the brain. I'm sure it's not going to be the most amazing thing ever, but it just felt like it was going to be fun. And yeah, your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I think I'm enjoying it more than most. It has a lower rating on IMDb than What If does, which I do not understand, but it feels like a solid quality Saturday morning cartoon, which, and I'm not mad at that at all. I feel like that is just, yeah, just what I'm looking for sometimes. Just something I can sit down, I can watch. The main actor who plays Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, has a very doesn't sound literally like Tom Holland, but energy wise has a very Tom Holland as Superman energy about him. So yeah, it's really good. Stylistically, it's very, very comic book, um, which I appreciate as well. So overall, I'm quite enjoying it. It's from what I understand, what I've read online, it was supposed to be Tom Holland's Spider-Man's origin story, but I don't know if
Oh.
it's because of delays with the strike or delays with other things in storyline. They just sort of made it. It's not literally a what if episode, but they sort of just allowed it to be an alternate universe Spider-Man story. So the origins a little bit different, and they've done things like they've merged characters where um, Harry Osborn, so his
Mm-hmm.
friend whose father ends up being the Green Goblin in the original movies and in the storyline, he's actually he finds out right away that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and he becomes this quote unquote guy in the chair kind of thing. Where so it's a little bit different than how to play it in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, but it's interesting. It's I think it's it, like again still has that Saturday morning cartoon feel about it, so it's not going to be too I'm going to say too grown up storyline wise, but it's feels a little bit kid like, but I don't know. I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
I've seen clips of this, I think. Is it CG? It's cell shaded, but it's CG animation, right?
Yes, yeah. There's some things rendering wise I don't care about. Just that they've all got this harsh black shadow under their chin,
Mm-hmm.
but if their heads move around, the shadow stays in the same spot, which is just I don't
It's
I
weird,
don't
yeah.
understand. Yeah, it's like even comic books change the shading, so I to me that feels like if I wanted to be picky about the you know the craft of it, it feels like they cheaped out a bit there, but it's yeah overall enjoying it.
Cool. I like the design
Yeah,
of Peter of I guess it's not I mean it's Peter Parker in the suit, but like I like the Spider-Man design. Like it looks very much like a I don't have Tony Stark or in this case Norman Osborn's help, so I'm going to make like a t-shirt with like web slinger wrist things and like my sneakers are going to be showing
yeah,
through and like you can see his socks and like he's got knee pads like they look like skateboard knee pads like
yeah.
that's cool. Like it's got like that homegrown sort of vibe to it, which does look fun.
He's got a tank on the back as well, so he has to like before he goes out as Spider-Man in that suit, he kind of releases the and gets it so that his web slingers are ready, and he's got the tubes that you can see going to his
Okay.
actual other things on his wrist. So it's yeah, you're right. It's very much the homemade patchwork version of it, but it's yeah, it's pretty fun.
How's the animation?
Good. I mean, it's again not the most amazing thing, but I think for what it is, and like I said, it has that a bit of a to me it feels better quality than current Saturday morning cartoon stuff, but not as good as classic Disney animation. So it feels like a pretty good
Mhm.
halfway spot. You don't go in and expecting anything amazing. I feel bad to say don't go in and expecting anything amazing, but it's just it's a fun show. Not blowing my mind, but I have not been disappointed by anything at all. But it's yeah, I'm surprised it has as low a rating as it does with yeah, especially watching the last season of What If. It's just which has been so hit or miss and it's just ridiculous in some cases. But yeah, this feels like a better quality thing than What If.
I wonder what the last animated show is that you and I have seen. I want to say it was that dragon show on Netflix. Do you remember that?
Yeah, Dragon Prince. Yeah, the name has changed since then. It's now like
Yeah.
Tales of from something.
Something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but how does the animation compare to that? Like which one would be better?
Um, I don't know. I think I like this better because they've styled it to look like a comic book. So
Mm. Mm-hmm.
it's probably technically not as good as that, but I feel like they get away with it better in this because
Right. Okay.
it's not trying to be high quality animation. It's actually just I think it suits this. I think the quality of the animation and the style of it suits the type of story that this is. It's yeah. Overall as a package, I'm enjoying it. Then a new episode came out today, which I have not yet seen, but I find myself looking forward to it.
All right. Very cool. You mentioned What If as well. So I don't have access
Oh,
to Disney Plus.
yeah,
I've yet to resubscribe to check out
yeah,
any of the Marvel or any of the Star Wars stuff that's been out. So
yeah.
how's What If?
Well, I remember you called it. What do you mean? What if? Why is it? It should just be called Why,
Yeah.
because it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's man. I wanted to like this. There's some episodes that felt like they were interesting in concept, but then they throw this what if Shang-Chi and Kate Bishop teamed up, but then it shows them in like 18 something cowboy western. It's like why is there's no way that they would meet up to like 150 to 200 years ago in the wild wild west as the characters we've come to know and love that have come out in the 2000s. Like this is not just a some of the what if things are, what if so and so made this decision in this one point. And I'm actually I find those more interesting because in the idea of the whole multiverse, with the infinite possibilities, just by with the decisions that everyone makes, you could have two completely different storylines based on a single decision that somebody makes. But then taking somebody like, we're gonna just, what if we ignored? What if we ignored what we're doing and just stick people 200 years ago in a spaghetti western? Like, oh my goodness.
There's a certain kind of comic book or genre of stories that are just weird for weird's sake. And there's a cult
Yeah,
following, just like there is for everything these days. And I feel like What If is going down that train from what you're describing. And that's where
yeah.
I'm glad I'm not watching, because I would not enjoy those either.
And they had an episode where, what if Howard the Duck got in a relationship, and then got in a relationship with Darcy from this Thor series? I'm like, why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. Darcy's been getting kind of more and more awesome as she has appeared in WandaVision. She's full-fledged doctor on her own now, and just like, why would she end up with a duck? And then they have a child that hatches from an egg. And it's like,
Oh, God.
it's so. It feels like some of these storylines just feel like they, whether it's intentional or not, but it just seems like they go out of their way to almost cheapen previous storylines that they've created, which I just do not understand
Yeah.
whatsoever. Like there were some episodes that I went in expecting mediocre, expecting to, or hoping to be somewhat entertained on a mediocre level, and most met that mark. Couple exceeded it, half probably didn't. But the one thing that I'll say, that for somebody who's watched the first two seasons all the way through, that there was a payoff in the sense that there has been a thread that they've been sort of carrying through with Captain Carter, and they brought that story to an end, and I thought, okay, that's an endearing quality. I'm glad they did at least that, but it's, if you're not sure if you want to watch it or not, just don't. or watch an episode to see what it's like, but it's just, if you're on the fence, there's no need to.
And it's important, I think, to note for anybody that's coming in late to the Marvel universe that none of this is essential viewing. Like if you're
Yeah.
just watching the films, or even like catching up on something like WandaVision, which is a little bit weird, this is not important like that.
No.
What's the is there a villain from the WandaVision series that has their own series now? Agatha?
Yes, Agatha. Yeah, her series was actually pretty good. It was kind of kitschy and over dramatic in parts. It didn't take itself too seriously, but I actually enjoyed the storyline in that. I thought it was quite good, and I am totally blanking on the actress who played Agatha's name, but she was fantastic in it. From Saturday Night Live origins, I believe, or that's when I first saw her. But yeah, she's funny and like appropriately over top of that character.
Catherine Hahn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agatha Harkness. I was trying to remember her last name. Agatha All Along is the name of the series.
So it had some interesting tie-ins with WandaVision, and taking some of the characters from that and sort of positioning them to then show up later in future Marvel things, which I think could be interesting. I don't know much about those characters. I've not read about them in the comic books or whatever, but when somebody appeared in it, and then when I go to look to try to find more information about them, and see some posts online, like, oh, that's so and so, and this is where they're from, or this is how they're going to do it, tie in somehow, or how they could potentially tie in if they go literally use that for the MCU. But yeah, I thought it was good. It was not the best show, but it was a fun one. Like some of the sets were obviously just sets, as opposed to trying to be super realistic all the time, but it fit what they were doing, because they were sort of in this slightly alternate realm within the show, and so having something that looked like a bit of a stage set fit what they were doing at the time. So yeah.
Well, that's how it worked with WandaVision too, right? Like they kind of went out of their way to say like this is in her imagination, and so because she grew up watching old sitcoms, like the sets were very much old sitcom-y sets, and like someone
Yeah.
would leave through the kitchen back door and just like disappear because it was like off stage. Yeah. I like that part of WandaVision. Actually, I found some of that really interesting. I am not one that is like super steeped in all of the comic knowledge, and I find myself more and more preferring watching reviews and reactions to people that are not like so into everything that Marvel has done and is doing in the future that they can speak to all of it. I like the Blind Wave guys a lot. They're great as far as a
Right,
reaction
right.
and a review channel. Blind Wave on YouTube for folks wondering. And because there's four of them, and because they're also busy, like they've got families and they've also got a lot of other stuff that they're watching because they're not just a Marvel review channel. Like they review all kinds of stuff. Ultimately, like two or even three of them might not be super familiar with whatever they're about to watch. Whereas like somebody might be really steeped in the lore of like this anime series or Star Wars, or maybe two of
Mm.
them are really into Star Wars and the other guys like it and they follow it, but they're not like this deep into like reading all the books. And so there's always somebody that has like an interesting question because they just don't know they don't already know the answer to it. Where like I see someone who posted like, here's the 47 Easter eggs in the, in this trailer that just came out from Marvel. It's like, I don't want or care to know all of those. Like, it's cool that you know them, all the power to you, but that's not why I watch this stuff. Like, I watch this stuff because I want cool storytelling and cool characters, and I like
Yeah.
superheroes. Like, so it doesn't have to be fulfilling my childhood knowledge of comic books with every minute, right? And
Yep.
I wonder sometimes with that people forget, and I'm guilty of this too. When you have a series like What If, it's just not made for us. Like it's just, like it's aimed at those nerds that want to be able to like, oh, I remember in issue 875 of, Doctor Strange that this is the weird thing that they did, and it was
Yeah.
just it worked in a comic book and they would never put it in a movie, but they're putting it in What If just to kind of appease those people that, maybe it's a well reviewed or it's a well known thing that happened in comic book lore, like just stuff like that. I think it's always good to remember, like, yeah, this stuff is just not for everybody.
Yeah. I had a coworker like that. We discussed it briefly. I think he was in season 1. There's a couple of episodes I brought up, and he would go, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I remember." And almost literally that he said, "I remember that comic arc," and he said it was really cool what they did in the comics with it. So it was for him. You're right. It was geared towards those who loved it.
Mm-hmm.
But and I found it really interesting. Like I said, when it was, if this person chose this route instead of that route, I find those stories interesting. But some of them are just so out there, which is too bad because the ones that were so out there made it less enjoyable for me.
It's hard too because like I like these fantasy type stories and I like these incredibly, unrealistic worlds when you're thinking about what's actually happening with, dragons or superpowers or aliens or whatever. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I feel like they have to be grounded enough to be relatable. And I feel like I can get on a high horse sometimes. It's like, well, this doesn't look realistic, or this just feels like it looks kind of silly. And then someone's like, well, you're talking about a dude flying in a cape. So like maybe lighten up. It's like, well, yes and no. Like, I mean, I see your point, like
Yeah.
you're 100% right. But there's a certain amount of like pop culture or pathos that I want in some of these superhero movies. I think that's one of the reasons I like Captain America, specifically Steve Rogers, so much, is that
Yeah.
he's a war hero. Like he was a good guy fighting bad guys. And granted, Marvel did a really good job of weaving in some sci-fi and taking a fish out of water and bringing him forward in time and like all that kind of cool stuff. And it made it interesting and fun. But when you boil Captain America down to what he is, like he just doesn't like bullies and he's going to punch you if you're a Nazi. Like that's just, it's very, very simple. And I like that cleanliness to my character motivation,
Mm.
and I find that sometimes they get too convoluted in films and these different series, and they try to do too much or it gets too complicated, and it's just like, guys, it doesn't have to be everything to everybody all at once. Like just make a good story with some good characters, and if you do a good one this time, you can tell more next time. You don't have to put it all in one film,
Right.
or all in one season. And speaking of, I guess we can kind of move on to the main topic this week, which is going to be all the trailers that have come out in the last couple of weeks since we last spoke.
Mm-hmm.
There's been obviously the Super Bowl, and there's a lot of big game spots and a lot of trailers for movies that are coming out. And even just before the Super Bowl, there was a couple of trailer releases ahead of the Super Bowl spots. So we're going to be talking about less the Super Bowl spots because they're short and more like the official trailers that are out for for some of these. And because I know that you are a super fan, as is the rest of your family, and I'm looking forward to this as well. How to Train Your Dragon has not only a teaser since the last time we spoke, but also a full trailer for the live action version of How to Train Your Dragon.
I think it was released today, wasn't it?
The full trailer came out today or yesterday. I mean, it's shot for shot in the trailer. It's very similar to the original. Like they don't look like they're changing a whole lot, other than like it's a film. It's like it's a CG, accented live action movie.
Very excited about this. There's part of me that wishes I weren't so excited, knowing that it's shot for shot. So like I'm not going to be shocked by anything storyline wise. So and we've seen it, probably half dozen times or more as a family. So I know what to expect exactly. So there's that aspect of it that I almost wished I'm seeing it for the first time, because the dragons look so cool, fully rendered. Toothless is just chef's kiss to the sky. I think the way that he looks in this is just top notch. And I sort of I mentioned it half jokingly before, but it almost looks like they could easily be using exactly the same animation path, animation models, and everything that they did for the movies, because it looks so good. The part where Toothless in the recent trailer where they show Toothless drawing in the sand, he starts off doing it exactly the same, and I don't remember well enough I couldn't tell you his exact drawing that he did in the animated version, but I know I'm a little bit all over the place in explaining it, but I'm just trying to picture it in my head as I go along. It's just, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, hearing the music and the soundtrack kick in, and part of it, honestly, I think the fact that they got Gerard Butler to do Stoic again, and he sounds exactly the same, because it is exactly the same guy.
I'm looking forward to seeing the way that they handle everything visually, because like you, I love the movie. I've seen it at least a half dozen times on my own, and I think that was my other thought, was like, like I have this aversion to, like, why are we doing it again? Like, why are you just not putting all this money towards a new story? And and for someone like me that likes animation and wants to see more animation, just turning animation into live action, it's not great for animation in the future, because then you're just going to end up doing more live action. Now, granted, this is a good one to move to live action because it requires a lot of CG special effects for the dragons. So for a live action movie, there's going to be a lot of animation in it, because of course there has to be for special effects. But it's not the same as like the CG movies from like DreamWorks and Pixar and stuff like that. I don't want them to turn The Incredibles into a live action movie. Please don't. Right?
No.
Like, that's not what I want for all of my CG favorites. I feel like they've got an opportunity with How to Train Your Dragon. And yes, I know they're two different studios, but Disney's been doing this for a while. And Lilo and Stitch is coming out later this year. Moana is coming out later this year, or has it? I don't know. Maybe Moana's already out.
Live action Moana?
Yeah, is that already out? No, this film. Moana 2 came out.
Yes.
Yeah, animated, but they're filming a live action Moana, 100%. And I'm just like, I could not be less excited, because it takes the charm out of these animated gems that I love, right?
And I mean, not that they need to have like the chicken in it, but I mean, that chicken with the eyes that occupy the entire space that its brain would be.
Yeah,
it's just a funny gag, and I agree. They're just, some things should not be remade, and I feel like Moana it was so good, but relatively speaking, it's still so new. Why do you need to redo Moana?
100%. Yeah,
like, I don't know, 6 years after the original one came out.
Yeah, I think they started with Beauty and the Beast, or maybe it was The Lion King. That was the first one. But at the same time, like, I got to say, we have reaped the benefits of the Lion King live action, because it was either that or the Jungle Book. I can't remember which one was Jon Favreau's first Disney project, but that's what they brought him in on.
Oh, yeah, I think it was Jungle Book.
That got his foot in the door. And then he got offered Mandalorian. So like we've reaped the benefits of some of these live action adaptations. But to get back to How to Train Your Dragon, like, it looks really cool. I agree. I think that Tooth looks great. I like the kid that they got playing Hiccup. I think he looks the part. He sounds the part as well.
His delivery is pretty good in the trailer. Yeah. I'm excited about his character, at least.
Yeah, and I am 100% on board to just hear the score,
Mm-hmm.
which I feel like they've updated a little bit in a theater setting, like with that sound system, because
Yeah.
I really like the music from How to Train Your Dragon, and I think it will be a really, really cool experience. And I also know that this is going to do very well because I missed the mark. Like, I feel like maybe your kids are the right age for this to be like part of their childhood
Yeah.
upbringing.
It was the first movie they saw in theater,
Right.
and they remember it being the first one they saw in theater. So it's always going to have that sort of magic for them.
So I see a lot of reactors online to these trailers, and they're about that age, right? They're just like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
so excited. I'm just like, I'm excited. Like, this is going to be fun, but like, I'm not like champing at the bit like these younger people are. And I think it's because like I was already out of animation school and working in the industry when this came out. So
Right.
like I liked it and it was good, but like I liked it for different reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do think it's going to be cool. I hope it's not like, I'm sure that the story beats are going to be the same. I hope it's not shot for shot the same, because like they could really benefit from like maybe do some stuff that you couldn't do in CG, or just take some opportunities to handle something just a little bit differently. I think I'd be okay with that. I don't think it needs to be a complete, just
Yeah.
something shot for shot. That said, like I did just watch Spider-Man No Way Home on Netflix over the weekend. I've seen it a number of times before, at least twice. I was just in the mood for something that I've seen before. Like I just wanted to watch something that
Mm-hmm.
I know is good, something that I hadn't seen a lot, and it's been like a year or so since I've seen it. So I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And I watched the extended version. There was a couple of scenes I spotted, but most of the time it's like the Lord of the Rings extended version. You just kind of felt like it was just more of the right kind of storytelling. But yeah, I'm on board for How to Train Your Dragon. And speaking
Yeah.
of stuff with scales, the other trailer that I wanted to talk about before we get too far off the topic here is Jurassic World Rebirth. And I
Right.
knew this was coming. I did not know it was coming this soon. I saw a talk show clip of Scarlett Johansson on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. She was talking about the fact that she was shooting this movie, and she was saying that as a kid she had a Jurassic Park tent, and she used to set it up in her bedroom, and that's where she slept for like 6 months when she was younger. So she's like
Cool.
a huge Jurassic Park fan, and now
No
is
kidding.
like the lead in the latest Jurassic Park or Jurassic World franchise. And so she was just like tickled that she's in this.
That's pretty cool.
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, this looks really good. Now, don't get me wrong, it looks kind of formulaic in the same way that a lot of these movies are formulaic. Right? There's the lead ranger, that's Scarlett Johansson. There's the science guy. There's the money lawyer guy, and then there's the smuggler guy. Does that at all sound familiar? It sounds like 7 of the other
Yeah.
other films, right? Like it's not overly off brand, but it does look really cool. Obviously, the more time passes, the better the special effects go in these movies. And you're talking about dinosaurs and Scarlett Johansson. So like I'm in. Even if it is a bit of a rehash, it's Scarlett Johansson. I am 100% in. And
So like see it in the theater or
oh,
watch it when it
100%.
comes on
Yeah,
streaming
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah? Okay.
I think I saw the other 3 in theaters. I might have seen the third one at home. I can't remember when it came out. One of them came out around pandemic time, and so I wasn't that bothered to go to the theaters. I think things were like
Mm.
not on lockdown, but I was like, I don't need to go to the theater. I've got a big TV here at home. Like, I'll be fine.
Right,
But
right.
no, this I would totally go see in theaters, 100%. And there's a couple of little twists that I'm also curious about. They're going back to the original lab island for the Jurassic Park theme park, and they are getting samples for like some sort of medical research or something. And there's something in the trailer that you only get glimpses of that looks like a Rancor monster. Like it is walking on its knuckles, and it looks
Oh,
like
from
it
Star
has,
Wars, right?
yeah, and it looks like it has like a face, and like it looks leathery, not like dinosaur. It does not look like a lizard at all. And so my brain is like, well, if this is the original research center, like did they try to genetically modify something? Like is it a crossbreed between an ape and a dinosaur? Like what the
Mm.
hell is it? Because it does not
Oh
look
yeah, the
like
walking on the knuckles.
anything that I've ever seen.
Right.
And so I'm curious to see how that's gonna go. I liked the Jurassic World series. I liked the Jurassic Park series. I will say that I think both of them suffer from having not a great second effort. So the Jurassic World 2, not my favorite. Jurassic Park 2
Mm.
is a stinker. Like, you can skip it. But I really liked I thought Jurassic Park 3 was okay. And I really liked Jurassic World 3, where like the dinosaurs are all loose all over like North America and stuff. Like, it was really
Right.
cool. And an interesting take on it. And I also really enjoy Bryce Dallas Howard is really good in all of them.
Yeah, just good in everything.
Yeah, specifically the
Yeah.
third one though, because they're dealing with there's a little girl that they're looking after, and so like there's a lot of like she has like a motherly role in it, and I really like what they did with her character in it. But yeah, it looks like a good cast. Like I'm on board.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the Jurassic series when I've watched them, but I don't know. There's something about this one. Maybe because it is so formulaic as you're saying, that it's not drawing me to the theater necessarily. There's just, I mean, mind you, my wife and I watched the trailer together, and as soon as it was over, she turned to me. She goes, "That looks awful." I said, "It does." She goes, "Yeah, but I'm still gonna watch it." So, so there's a good chance. Well, it still may be a date night because, it's for her it's also anything with sharks. Even if it's a horrible shark movie, she loves shark movies. It's just she'll go see the dinosaurs.
Megalodon, like whatever that is, it's like a shark. It's like a shark
Yeah,
crocodile
yeah.
thing.
Oh yeah.
They're huge. Mastodon. I can't remember what they're called. Back to Marvel. We've had a new trailer for Captain America: Brave New World,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know that we've talked about the full trailer on this show since it came out. There was a
I
teaser
don't
a while
know.
ago, but I I've seen a lot, and in the new clip, in the new release trailer, they're calling it, which is basically like a longer version of the punchy thing that they put on the Super Bowl. They address like the celestial that's out in is it the Indian Ocean?
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that
yeah,
finally.
yeah. So they actually like I think it's Harrison Ford as the president is addressing it, and we all know I think by now that Thunderbolt Ross is the Red Hulk. So we're gonna have Harrison Ford as a Red Hulk in this film. I don't know whether
Yeah,
he's necessarily like the big bad that Sam Wilson has to deal with as Captain America. There's a lot going on. There's the Thinker is in it as well. There's a lot of military stuff happening. So I'm not sure whether other military powers in the world are trying to get after the celestial or what's going on. He mentions adamantium. So like it looks like Captain America Brave New World is going to be like the seeds for potentially the X-Men in Marvel,
okay.
right? So like that's cool. There was just a lot more action, and it's also edited in a very different way. Like if there
Mm.
was, do you remember the trailer for this where they had like the black line going down the middle? It was kind of artsy. Like they were putting like,
Yeah.
Thunderbolt Ross and Sam Wilson like split down the middle, and like the two sides, the two different viewpoints. And there was like rule and law, and then there was like espionage and spy and like all this kind of stuff. And it was very cool. But this other trailer is what I would call a bro trailer. Like it's just, it watches like a Top Gun movie, right? Like it's just like blow them up, blow them up, blow them up, quick line, blow them up, barrel roll.
Yeah.
It's kind of nonstop. There's no story. Like it's just, come on, just people yelling at each other and punching. And so it's like, well, they're really trying hard. And I know that it's gone through some reshoots. And so I hope it's good.
Yeah.
I do have kind of low expectations going into it. I did like Captain America and the Winter Soldier, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They
Yep.
changed the name in the last episode, but like I like that series. But there's been other things that Marvel's done since that I'm just not on board with. So I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that this will be like the real springboard into the next phase where Marvel has been like, okay, we've been maybe phoning it in a little bit too much lately.
Yeah.
Let's get back on
That's a good way to
track.
put it. Yeah.
Let's get back on track and just try to do something a little bit more unique. And I'm on board for this to be a great standalone movie with some seeds planted for future stuff.
Agreed. Yeah. I think it's a good way to put it. The way you described it's good. I'm cautiously optimistic about this. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the casting with Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, Captain America, was just so spot on, and I just enjoyed his character, and his character arc so much that Sam Wilson as I mean I'm sure like Sam Wilson as like the character within the movies going to be going through exactly the same thing, but Mackie trying to live up to the Captain America role as an actor, and Sam having to live up to Steve Rogers as Captain America. I think those things are going to be both. I'm here for it. I want to go see it because I'm rooting for him. I hope it goes well, and yeah, I hope I'm not disappointed. I mean, it's tough because I want to go into it, I guess, with slightly low expectations because it is sort of a new, or maybe not with low expectations. I want to go into it without putting too much pressure on Sam as Captain America because I don't know I don't feel like that's fair because it's a different story, it's a different character, it's going to be a different take on it, and it's a black Captain America, so the reality that he deals with as Captain America is going to be completely different than blonde-haired, blue-eyed Captain America dealt with throughout the year. So it's like it has the potential to be a really different, interesting take on it, and I'm very hopeful. I hope it lands.
There's a line from Ross that says, "You're not Steve Rogers," and Sam Wilson's like, "No, I'm not. Like I'm a
Yeah,
completely different person and a completely different Captain America." And I'll say I really like Mackie as Sam Wilson. I think he does a really good job.
agreed.
I think I have to be careful with how many interviews I consume of Anthony Mackie because I've seen him in several and I like him in
Yeah,
several. And there's other times when it's like, I don't know that I don't really necessarily like this particular conversation or what he's been saying or how he's been saying it. Like sometimes I can just take him or leave him. And I don't want that
yeah.
to be something I bring into the movie. So I might just wait and like not watch any interviews with him and kind of let the movie stand on its own merits. Sticking with Marvel, we have a teaser trailer for Fantastic Four. And
Hmm.
this is really odd because the production design, while fantastic looking, is very retro 60s future. Like it's the Jetsons, but Fantastic Four. The cars are old, like Cadillac looking. Everything's round and angled. There's a lot of like modern mid-century. Like it's really interesting. And they jump right into it. They throw you into this like they're already the Fantastic Four. Uh he's already the Thing. Uh they show Sue Storm's powers and Johnny Storm's powers.
Yeah.
And like I'm really curious to see where they're going to go with it. Especially because I know that they're trying to tie this into the main Marvel timeline. Now, and this is
Oh.
unfortunately where Marvel has done the thing where they've decided to do both time travel and multiple universes at the same time.
Mm.
And so you're like, okay, well, I want to see this movie and I want to see the origin story of these characters, but at the same time, like, is there any real peril here? If this world or this universe isn't the one from the main timeline, then I hate to tell you, Marvel, I don't give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care what happens to this world if it's not the world that essentially I imagine that is the one that I live on, right? Like, that's kind of how I view like the main Marvel timeline, the one that lost people for 5 years and they got snapped back. And the one that the Avengers saved in Endgame, like, that's my world. That's the prime world.
Yeah. The one
And
that they got us invested in for like
yeah, 20 years.
yeah.
And all these other ones, you're just like, I don't care. Like, I just don't, it doesn't have the same, like, oh no, like the world is going to end. Like, so what? How many worlds ended in the Loki series? Like, someone farts and a world ends. Like, it's not, it doesn't have the same weight it used to, which is their own
Yeah.
doing. Like, it's their own fault. But in a way, similar to like the What If series, in a good way, I feel like it does free them up to like, well, we can't do a retro future 60s type movie because we're already setting the Marvel universe in like 2032 or whatever it is. It's like 5 years ahead of where we are now, right?
Mm.
And so I really feel like this is an opportunity for them to do something really visually cool. Even like while there is like some technology here, like I don't recall a cell phone from the movie at all. So how futuristic is it and how many people have this future tech? Like, is it just the Fantastic Four or is it the whole world? And
Hmm.
how does it work? So like it really feels like it could be interesting because like there's so many plots. Like if you go back to watch like the Friends TV series, like so much of that show falls apart if any two people have a cell phone in
Yeah.
in the friend group. And I feel like the problem with some modern Marvel movies is like there's just so much connectivity and so much tech that it starts to like cloud how you can get away with stuff. And I'm curious how they're going to do this. I like the cast. I mean, like Pedro Pascal is fantastic. Vanessa Kirby is wonderful. Joseph Quinn, I didn't recognize at first. He's from Stranger Things,
Yeah.
and this one kind of weird decision. Like they've got him with blonde hair in this, and it looks terrible. He is very much a brunette in real life, and he just looks like someone that's dyed their hair blonde. He doesn't look like a natural blonde at all. I just like just let him have his own hair. Why does he have to be blonde? I don't. It just doesn't seem to fit right. And then Ben Grimm and the Thing, very comic accurate, like
Yeah.
really comic accurate. I don't know yet if that's a good thing. It feels very cartoony, right? Like we live in a world where Korg from Thor Ragnarok exists. He's a rock guy that talks, and he looks like a real rock guy that talks. And the Thing in this trailer looks like a cartoon rock guy that talks, right? Like it
Hmm.
feels strange. Like he doesn't have eyebrow expression, at least that I've seen in the trailer. It just feels very stiff, despite the fact that you know that it's CG. So I don't know. It still feels fun. He still feels like a cool character. He's not like, the Hulk. He's not like pointing and grunting. Like he's very articulate and stuff. So uh, I think for me, I actually have a leg down in that I am not at all familiar with anything Fantastic Four from the comics. The only thing I've ever been exposed to are the other live action movies from Fox from years ago, where Chris Evans played the Human Torch. And I did watch the new ones with Michael B. Jordan. And it was okay, but it was not like great. And I feel like I would probably appreciate what Marvel's trying to do more if I was more familiar with like the true Fantastic Four comics or had seen more cartoons even when I was a kid. Like you and I grew up on like that 90s X-Men
Yeah.
show, right? And if there had been more exposure to like a Fantastic Four thing at that time, I probably would have more of an appreciation for this. But right now, it's cool looking and I want to go see it because I want to know what they're going to do with it. But nothing about it is just like, oh yeah, like I'm super excited. It's like, oh, okay, this is weird but cool. I think is where I'm going to land on my trailer review. It's weird but cool.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna go see it, but it's odd.
Yeah. It's funny, the more we talk about this, the more I know that I know this from my childhood, but we didn't have cable, so I'm trying to remember if there was a Fantastic Four uh, cartoon series that I saw at someone's house, or maybe it was one of the few comic books that one of my friends had that I happened to read through. But I remember, like I can visualize those comics from when I was a kid, the original Spider-Mans and Captain Americas and things like that. I didn't read those when I was younger, but for some reason I can't place it. But I know there's something about Fantastic Four that I guess as the more we talk about it, I realize I have this not affinity for, but a soft spot for. But I can't place it. I know I've seen a number of somethings in my past, but I can't remember whether it was a cartoon or a comic book. It's just
There was a series in the late 90s, but like you and I would have been high school age. So like that's probably
yeah.
why we don't recall it. It very much looks like the Spider-Man cartoons from the 90s. That's
Mm,
for animated, probably very, very similar from the same crew or whatever. And that's probably why we missed it. But yeah, I remember the characters because I used to have a puzzle. Like I had like a comic book character puzzle. It was one of those things where it's like 100 comic book characters. I think all of it was Marvel, as a matter of fact, because I don't
mm,
remember anything like Superman or Batman. Like it was all like X-Men and Fantastic Four. I remember the Thing. Galactus was in the back because he's massive. Like I remember all of those characters, but the thing that I recall from the Fantastic Four is that Steve, Mr. Fantastic, was like he was all over the place because he'd have like an arm in one place and his head would be in the other because he was all stretchy
yeah, yeah.
from the puzzle. Yeah, it's a weird kind of thing that sticks in my brain from childhood that I can totally picture the puzzle, but I don't remember every character from it. But it was a big puzzle. The thing that I think a lot of people are excited about is that Galactus is in this.
Mm-hmm.
They show the shadow, and they show, I think, a face or at least a shoulder and an arm. And it's weird because I thought Galactus was supposed to be a lot bigger, like the kind of guy that eats a planet. And he's like bigger than the Statue of
Oh.
Liberty, like so threatening New York, sure, but like he doesn't feel like he's an Earth threat, so to speak. So I'm not sure
Right.
how they're rolling with that. But like maybe that's because this is alternate universe Galactus and he's not big yet. Or like maybe in our universe he's already eaten
He
other
hasn't
worlds.
eaten enough planets.
Yeah, like who knows? Like I don't, again, like, and this is me, like I know the guy's name, I know the imagery, like I can tell you what Galactus looks like. He's a big purple tuning fork dude. I don't know who he is, what he is. In the same way, actually, that I didn't know who Thanos was when they introduced him into the Marvel Universe. Like I didn't really understand
Fair
who
enough.
that was.
Same.
So they could handle it very, very well, but we'll see.
I'm excited that Silver Surfer is going to be in it. And this is one of the reasons why I know that I had to have seen something as a kid as Silver Surfer, because I was fascinated by this character. And I don't, looking back, the idea of this Silver being flying around space on a surfboard, quote unquote on a surfboard, it's a weird thing. And the surfboard is, maybe it was just to relate it back to what was popular in the States at that time or whatever. But I remember, I was probably drawing it very poorly, but I remember I used to draw Silver Surfer. I'm forgetting something, and it's so bizarre. But yeah, I'm excited to see how they're going to handle the Silver Surfer in this.
Moving into the Internet Minute, which is, of course, brought to you by you. The Citadel Cafe is 100% listener supported. If you're getting value out of the show, please consider putting a little bit of value back in. You can become a member at patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. Joining at any level will get you an invite to the member-only Discord server that's shared with my personal Discord, and access to Barista Cut bonus audio extended versions of the podcast. Special thanks to our Bean Counter patrons, Cosmic and Smurf588. Thank you ever so much for your support on this episode. Patron count is at 23, which is steady on from the last time that we recorded. If you would like to be patron number 24, visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. Jumping in with Lego as per usual. I have seen a number of things that they've released. This is not something I want for myself, but I do really appreciate the artistry of it. This is Vincent van Gogh's Sunflowers. And I thought the Starry Night thing was cool. I don't know if I necessarily needed like the little Vincent van Gogh easel thing that came along with it. But this is a really large Lego art piece that is paying tribute, of course, to the famous painting. It's 22 inches by 17 inches by 2 inches deep. So like this is a large thing that you can put on your wall. And even the frame is Lego. Like it is a finished thing that you can hang on your wall if that is the end game. 2,615 pieces. It is not a small piece of kit.
Wow.
And it is retailing for 260 Canadian and is going to be available to ship on March 1st. And it's very pretty. It's very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what they did with it. It's something where I don't know, unless like if you walked by 10 feet or 15 feet from it, I don't know if your brain would go, oh, that's Lego. I think you would like realize it was Lego and then want to walk up closer to it and see how they did it. And I think it's really, really cool looking. I don't know why they've made it so deep. It's interesting that it's 2 inches deep. I don't know whether that's because of the connections that are needed underneath, whether it's to mimic like how thick a canvas would be if you hung it on your wall. But it's interesting that it's such a large canvas. But anyway, I really like it, and they've shown it in a number of different ways. They've shown close-ups of it with video, but they've shown it like in someone's hand, on a table, on a wall, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it now, I'm impressed how round they got certain aspects of it. Like it, for Lego that's inherently blocky and rectangular, the flowers themselves look almost perfect circular. It's a really interesting technique. I'm curious to know what they did in behind to allow it to get it that round. It's pretty cool.
It looks like there's a lot of Lego pieces turned on their side that are attached with like claws, like little grippy pieces. And I've done that a lot with building Star Wars ships in Lego, where they want to make like an arc or they want to make an engine. And rather than like giving you a round piece you clip on, they'll give you like 8 or 16 little pieces that all clip on to like something in the middle, and they approximate like the fins on an engine or the roundness of a fuselage or something. And it's surprising how round you can get something. In the same way that you can build circles in Minecraft, if you build big enough and the
Right.
resolution is large enough, you can kind of make something look round. And they do the same thing with Lego. But yeah, it's very, very cool. What's your pick this week?
It's also Lego, but it's not actually a finished set or anything like that. It's just last month. I may not have, probably didn't see it before we recorded last month, or yeah, but the announcement on Nintendo of America, or Nintendo of America's X account or Twitter account, it's going to be a Lego Game Boy crossover coming October 25th. There's a very small teaser video on their Twitter account. There may be a longer video of it elsewhere, but I've not been able to find it yet, or haven't seen it yet. So it's just very much a teaser. But I'm really curious to see. I would love it if it was actually a working Lego Game Boy, and given how like technology has changed since the original Game Boy came out, you'd basically be able to stick all of the processing power for a Game Boy in a teeny tiny chip, as opposed to have it required to fill the entire device. So it'd be, I mean, I'm totally speculating, but I'm very curious to see what this is going to look like, and it's not too expensive, just for nostalgia's sake. I might have to pick this one up.
I don't have it, but it's on my list, is the Lego NES collector's set that they put out from Lego Icons a while ago. The thing that I didn't necessarily need or want from it was like there's a TV that you build as well. Like, it's not just the NES system. There's a controller, a cartridge, and the system, but then there's also a TV. And if you turn the crank on the TV, then like Mario jumps up and down and the background goes by behind him. It's cool, but I just like so much of the build, like half of it is the TV, and that was like, it's not really what I want from this set. But it is cool. And I do like what they did with the system for the NES. So I'd imagine if they're going to be doing the same thing with the Game Boy, that it'll probably look pretty cool. I'd imagine because the Game Boy is a smaller thing, there might be like cartridges that could come with it, or like maybe some of the accessories. Like I remember there was like a magnifying glass thing that you could put on the Game Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe like there was a sleeve that you could put it in. Like I had one. I totally had one. Tetris and Kirby were the games that I played on my Game Boy.
Never had one. It was always on my wish list. And there's part of me that would still love to have one, but I know it would be getting one just for having one's sake, and I don't know how much I would play it. But it's just it was that childhood toy that everyone had that I wish I did.
Well, that wraps up this episode of the Citadel Cafe. You can get more information about the show and links to some of the things that Stephen and I talked about at thecitadelcafe.com. Music for the show was composed by Kevin MacLeod. You can email us at thecitadelcafe@gmail.com or find the show by name on social media. Subscribe for free on all of the major podcasting platforms, including YouTube. Find the RSS feed on the website, and the patron-only RSS feed is on our Patreon page. Word of mouth is the easiest way to support the show. Just tell friends about the Citadel Cafe and where they can go to listen to it. My name is Joel Duggan. You can find everything I am doing online at joelduggan.com. That includes a link to my other podcast about Minecraft at thespawnchunks.com, also available on YouTube in a video version. You can find me on social media at Joel Duggan and Joel Duggan on Twitch, where right now I am bouncing back and forth between Core Keeper, Satisfactory, and Minecraft every day, Tuesday through Saturday at 1 o'clock Atlantic. Stephen, where can people find you online?
Hanging out either as Stephen ESC on Blue Sky or on Mastodon at mstdn.ca as Stephen ESC.
You've been listening to the Citadel Cafe, where we are fast, easy, and cheap, but you can only pick two.